All right, all right. Happy Thursday, guys. Welcome to Sabs podcast. I'm your host, Sabrinasalvati. My special guests tonight are Griffin and Fatu. Both of them have been trying to unionize Amazon warehouses. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Okay, so I think I'm going to start with you, Griffin, because it was your story that I heard about. Actually, Shama Sawant reached out to me. For those who don't know, Shama Sawant actually started a worker strike back. I talked about that on the show when it first was announced. And Griffin, as I understand, you were a part of that as well. I have been informed that while you were a part of unionizing efforts for Amazon, you actually have been fired from the location in Kentucky. Can you tell everyone, how did those events transpire? And then also, can you tell everyone a little bit about that particular warehouse in Kentucky and why that one is so significant?
Yeah, so Amazon KCVG is Amazon's air hub for their air freight network in North America and globally. We have 40 flights every 24 hours where cargo is brought in from planes into the building and sorted, sent back out on planes, sent to trucks and the rest to deliver, their overnight delivery, their 2-day delivery. And I've worked at Amazon for 3 years, moved over to the air hub in 2021. And second year I was there, the company cut our seasonal peak pay. So the first year I was there, we got an extra $2 an hour during peak season, during the holidays. Next year they decided to claw it back because we don't have a union, right? We can't actually have a say in maintaining these things. And my coworkers and myself started a petition to bring back our peak pay and to make it a permanent cost of living raise. Just as it is now, inflation was out of control. The price of basic goods, gas, food, rent, everything was skyrocketing. And, from the jump, our coworkers were saying, yeah, it'd be great to get our seasonal pay, but what we really need is a union that can fight for things like $30 an hour, 180 hours of paid time off, and having union representation. So, yeah, we took it from there. And last March, we launched our union drive as Amazon Labor Union KCVG. Since then, we've collected well over 1,000 cards. We also had over 1,000 of our coworkers sign on to a petition demanding translation rights for immigrant workers, who maybe aren't as proficient as English as they'd like to be, to force the company to offer translation in any disciplinary conversations, and to fight back against discrimination in the workplace because, there are a lot of especially Senegalese, Congolese workers in the workplace who, sometimes are brought into their manager's office and not even really given an explanation as to why they're being disciplined or in some cases fired. And that's, how I met Fatu through that important work of building out our organizing committee among immigrant workers, but also in their communities. These are very tight-knit communities where people help each other and where people talk about issues at work. That's where we met Fatu and have really developed out, I'd say in the last 5 or 6 months, a strong community arm of this campaign that's so essential. These are our communities. These businesses rely on workers to have money to spend at the grocery, at the market, and whatever else. So we're happy to have Fatu by our side to fight with us.
Now, I saw this article here. I want to share this with everyone. It says, "We know our rights. Amazon KCVG Air Hub workers begin to vote to ratify union constitution." And I want to highlight this piece right here that says members of the Amazon labor union KCVG kicked off a 3-week voting period Saturday to ratify the union's constitution. And here are some of the benefits here that it lays out. Should the union reach that stage, they plan to make the following demands, among others: $30 an hour starting wage, 180 hours of paid time off, union representation at disciplinary meetings, and monthly dues would be $30 an hour. So I want to pass it to you, Fatu. what piqued your interest in reference to helping people start to organize a union at Amazon? Why were you particularly interested in this effort? I think you have to unmute.
So, like Griffin said a few months ago, I was helping the new coming get their paperwork with immigration, get their housing ready, and we always, of course, got to get them jobs so they can pay for everything that we got set up for them. So I've been doing this for 10 years or more, helping around this. Around the community, and that's how I end up a job as a recruiter. And I did that for 7 years, and we didn't have no problem getting these people to work. All the warehouse was hiring them because they have a voice. I was behind the scene telling the managers that they need to hire these people, get a lead in French, get a managers in French so we can get these people in, because we have hundreds of Congolese just come in at that time, and you guys need a worker. But like I realized, as soon I left the job, all of those managers and most of them was fired, and companies start saying that they cannot hire any French speaking. So even though I had another job that is not related to the job they were looking for, I was willing to go with them and help them translate and do everything at the job site so they can have something to feed their family. So I started going to HR in Amazon and talking to them, and they like, oh, give us time. We were looking for, translation and stuff. I say, it's not that hard. I have so many people I can send right now in your office to get translation. So they keep putting me on hold, and finally the last person I took there 6 months ago, I was going back very furious, very mad, and then met the union people at the street with sign. They was getting ready to do a family day. I'm like, what is this? For me, they were working for Amazon because I was not familiar with union at all. I said, you guys work for Amazon? What is going on? Why not they not hiring immigrant? So they show me this petition that they do. It was thousands of workers, immigrant and no immigrant sign to get translation, and Amazon was ignoring it. So I say, well, I know leaders in this community. I've been in the United States for 21 years, and I've been in Kentucky for the last 13 years. And I work with a lot of leaders, Congolese, Senegalese, Malian, mosque, churches. So I can get you in contact with them so they can talk to their members that work at KCVG to back you guys out. With that community relation we have so many immigrants that was scared because Amazon was telling them about all this lie with the union busters, and they end up being really stepping in and helping out to help the workers at Amazon to have a union.
Okay. And then from what I understand, Griffin, you were fired from Amazon in Kentucky, and you believe it's because you were helping with organizing union efforts, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I worked there for about 2.5 years at that particular site, and have been involved, early on in the organizing efforts, going back to the fall in 2022 when we started the peak pay petition. And the company is afraid that their workforce might support a union at KCVG. And, we have a lot of support that we're activating, well over 1,000 cards signed, workers getting organized into organizing committees on their shifts, various departments in all corners of the facility. And they're scared because they know that we're preparing to file for an NLRB election, and that, we know that's only a first step or maybe a second step in this fight for a union at KCVG. Amazon is one of the most anti-union employers in the world. They've, marshaled out dozens and dozens of high-paid union busters and consultants to come out and scare workers and confuse them about what a union is, and that's part of why we've taken steps to draft our independent union constitution and make decisions on, what, should the elected leadership in the union be subject to recall. Overwhelmingly, our coworkers say yes. And, deciding on dues, we voted overwhelmingly to accept $30 a month in dues. The union busters say all kinds of things about that. And, with my firing, it's not about me. It's about firing somebody at the center of this campaign. And the reason they gave me for my firing even was that I asked if I could attend some of the anti-union captive audience meetings that they're holding at the workplace all hours of the day. I myself and other pro-union workers were kind of suspiciously not invited to these meetings. And just for simply asking to attend these meetings, I was fired. They said that I was self-assigning by simply asking a manager for a couple minutes if I could attend one of these captive audience meetings. And about a month later, I was told that I was being fired for that reason, which, I think says a lot more about how they feel about the situation now than it does, pinning it all on one worker or something. They want to scare our coworkers from getting involved in the union and fighting for what we need.
Well, one other question I have, I'm not completely sure about the work laws in Kentucky, but isn't that considered to be retaliation? And I ask this question because I've interviewed a couple of Starbucks employees on this show before, and one of them was fired because they were trying to start a union at their Starbucks location. And I asked the same question, isn't that considered retaliation?
Right. So, Kentucky's a right to work state, right? So, I think people will get a bit confused. It's also an at-will employment state, like many places in the U.S. According to the letter of the law, your employer can fire you, end your contract of employment for any legal reason. They, technically can't fire you for an illegal reason, like for supporting a union, for banding together with your coworkers to fight for improvements in the workplace. But, officially, that's not the reason I was given for my firing. So, these companies engage in illegal union busting and, they try to cover it up as best as they can. But it's pretty, it's pretty unthinkable that, the reason I was given for my firing was explicitly for asking to attend these anti-union meetings. And I think it shows that the company's desperate about the situation.
So one of the other question I have is, have any of you, and not just this particular warehouse in Kentucky, but have any of you that have been fired for trying to unionize, have any of you collectively, banded together and reached out to an attorney?
Yeah, so our campaign has legal counsel. We've exhausted every avenue as far as filing unfair labor practice charges against my firing, through the NLRB. But what it really comes down to is building power in the workplace, because ideally, if we were well organized enough and management fired or targeted pro-union workers, we would stop working and we would demand that those workers be reinstated. But we're not there yet, obviously. To organize a workplace of over 4,000 workers is a real fight, and I think they fired me because they knew that it would have a chilling effect in the workplace, and to some degree it has, but it's also motivated just as many workers to fight back. And so, we're using, talking about my firing within the larger context of a lack of job security at Amazon, where you could be fired for a small safety issue. You could be fired for going negative on your unpaid time that they give you to manage your time. It's firing season at Amazon. I'm just one of a few hundred that's been fired at this facility in the last several months. And we're going to fight back, and we're going to continue to fight for a union at KCVG.
Has ALU reached out in reference to this particular situation, or have you heard from the ALU?
Yeah, so, we've had, several of their key organizers from their election out to help us organize at the facility. Bree Masilla, Connor Spence, and others who, are really, foundational, members of that effort. And, we took up their demand for a $30 an hour wage early on. And, we think it's really positive that it's not just ALU that's talking about 30 now. It's, the Teamsters at Amazon. It's other workers in the logistics industry, fighting, alongside the auto workers that are moving into action in the South to organize some of these EV plants. And so, yeah, we're filing as an independent union with our own constitution, but we don't want to be isolated. We want to join the ranks of thousands of workers around this country, that are moving into action and getting organized for better.
That was another question that I had. Is there any effort to organize, I guess, with the UAW and other unions that are striking or making demands right now, and to make this more of a bigger movement, so to speak? Because I know the UAW actually mentioned they were thinking about starting some type of general strike, at least a couple years down the road. I think they said by 2018 they want to have a full general strike going. Has there been any effort to reach out to some of the other unions, particularly in that area, and band together as well?
Yeah, we got together with other union. We organized launching that article you was reading just now. It was about our launching in February 3rd. We have support from local Teamster. We have support from other organizing union came in and back us 100%. We have union from Canada coming. So everybody was trying to reach out to us and trying to see how they can help us and how they can support us, which is an amazing job, because with Amazon we need it all to win.
Right. And I think sometimes people may not think about this, but if you're ordering something from Amazon, especially if you have Amazon Prime, you're getting that item within 2 days, right? Or supposed to be within 2 days. Well, in order for that to happen, that means they have to have a lot of people working long hours. And I heard stories before from Amazon employees about them not being able to have significant breaks. I had stories from Amazon employees where they had to urinate in bottles. So I think people really need to understand that sometimes when you're trying to get that quick convenience, that is at someone else's expense.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would say too, with that, yeah, we've got members of our organizing committee who've worked at Amazon for many years, 10 plus, 14 plus years. And, we want to be respected and paid a decent living. I like my job on the ramp, driving a cargo tug, working around the planes, but we're not paid fairly, and there's no clear work standards. There's a lot of potential for serious injury working around aircraft, handling, 4,000, 5,000 pound freight canisters. And at the end of the day, we should have some guarantee, as much as humanly possible, that you're going to go home, the same way you came in. And we see increasingly at Amazon that, the more flights they add, month to month, building this place out, it's massive investment for them. $1.5 billion. And it's only really a third of the way built. They have a lot more to do. They want to get to the point where they're not just doing 40 flights a day, they're doing 100 flights a day every 24 hours. And the pace of that is backbreaking at times, especially during peak. If you're not careful, you can get sucked up into a jet engine. You can have your hair sucked up into a conveyor belt on the ramp. There's a lot that can go wrong. And, when the planes have to go out, all the safety concerns go out the window.
Oh, we lost Griffin.
Yeah.
He'll probably come back. Oh, here he is. Is this, I would imagine, is this the largest employer in that area?
It's one of the largest, yeah. This is like the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky metro region. So, University of Cincinnati Hospital is very big. Kroger is very big out here. But yeah, Amazon's, I think, the third or fourth largest employer in this metro region. So it's a big deal for this economy here.
So that's part of the problem that I've noticed, especially going to some of the rural towns in the United States where it's obvious that the retail market has pretty much been shut down, right? So you see these shopping plazas that are now abandoned because Amazon came into town, or Amazon warehouse came into town. And now that is the quote unquote employer in the town. And so the people kind of have nowhere else to. I make the same argument about Boeing in South Carolina. There's certain parts in South Carolina where Boeing kind of is the employer. So it's like people don't really have that many alternatives. And the problem is that Amazon has become so large that it's made it difficult for other retailers, even chain retailers, to stay in business. I see shopping malls closing. I see stores in shopping malls closing because they'll tell you people are buying clothes online at Amazon, or people are getting everything at Amazon or at Walmart. And so it makes it harder for medium-sized businesses, even some of the chains. It makes it more difficult for smaller businesses to actually thrive when you have this large competitor that pretty much sells everything. And they also bought Whole Foods.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, on the other side of that too, it's, this area is interesting because, there's a lot of rural life in this area still, right? Smaller towns, further south in Kentucky, where people drive an hour and a half to work every day. There's still a lot of family farming. I mean, there's at least 3 people on our organizing committee that have to go to work at Amazon, organize the fight, and then go help out with the family farm still. And, a lot of those businesses are suffering in the same way, because all these supply chains are becoming more integrated internationally. And, it's, and just not having the time off, spend with your family is a huge issue for our coworkers. And that all adds up, I think.
Yeah. Go ahead, Fatu.
So when we have what they know that they are needed sometime, and they know that the workers are coming to them because, of course, when they open, like you say, a lot of the warehouse closes and those workers went to Amazon. So in this meeting that they have, call open meeting to everyone to come and tell, what they want, HR open door policy. Some of the immigrants told me if they go there and start telling them, what they need, they well, this is not for everybody. If you think this job is not for you, you might just, look for somewhere. Literally they telling them, you can quit. We don't care, and it's just became ridiculous for these people who just get. And then I always tell them, you guys have some small people there and you guys don't know it. They just don't speak the language. But we have lawyers in there. We have engineering in the warehouse. One of our lead used to be a professor in Africa, but they have to run because, war or something. They have to come here and leave their job behind. Very small people. So don't just consider them dumb because they don't speak the language. We having problem with Amazon and we have to fight for it.
That's right. And another thing I want to mention too is that HR, oh boy, I learned many years ago that HR is always there to protect the company. They tell you during orientation that they're there for you. But the moment you go to HR and you voice any type of concern, remember, those people are paid to protect the company at all costs. So they're not really for the employee. What are the next steps in reference to that particular location in Kentucky? And for those who are just joining, that Amazon location in Kentucky is considered to be an Amazon hub.
Well, yeah, quickly on your point about HR, I mean, some of the first full meetings that workers have been invited to that are in French are these union busting meetings, so HR will provide translation when it's it's a priority for this company to smash the union drive, but not when, they need their training or anything else on the job. But I mean, last year we fought around these demands, 30 an hour, 180 hours of paid time off, organized around translation. Now we're finishing up the process of drafting and ratifying this constitution. And the next step for us is to file for an NLRB election and to force this company to come to the bargaining table to recognize our union and ultimately to prepare for a strike at KCVG because, as we've seen in New York and other efforts to organize Amazon, we're going to have to drag them to the bargaining table. And ultimately that means withholding our labor. That means, stopping the planes from coming in and out, and really forcing their hand to take this fight to the next level and to fight for a contract.
And where can people go to support your efforts?
Yeah, so you can find us on social media, Amazon Labor Union KCVG. And you can also go to our website, unionizeamazonkcvg.org. If you go to /donate, we really encourage people to donate $30 to help us fight for a $30 an hour starting wage.
Yeah. So guys, those of you watching, instead of donating to politicians, donate to these efforts to unionize at Amazon. I always tell people to put your money to better use.
Yeah,
to better
appreciate
use.
that.
Well, thank you so much, Griffin. And thank you for two. And the best of luck to both of you.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Thanks for having us on.
Bye.
Bye.